Surfing the MASH Tsunami brings you 3 major stories from the world of steatotic liver disease. This weekend, we're bringing you each of these stories separately so you can listen over a shorter, discrete period of time. Hope you enjoy them.
For the last 5 years, MASLD stakeholders, whether manufacturers, trial sites, providers, payers, patients, or investors, have turned to surfing the MASH tsunami to keep track of drug and device development, epidemiology, public health initiatives, and practice patterns.
Surfing the MASH Tsunami is sponsored by these healthcare-related organizations. Novo Nordisk. The Surfing MASH podcast platform and series are proudly sponsored by Novo Nordisk, a global healthcare company driving change to defeat serious chronic diseases. Novo Nordisk has no impact on the content or information provided within this podcast episode.
Regeneron is a leading biotechnology company that invents, develops, and commercializes life-transforming medicines for serious diseases. Founded and led by physician scientists, their unique ability to repeatedly translate science into medicine has led to numerous approved treatments and product candidates in development, most of which were homegrown in their laboratories. They are shaping the next frontier of medicine with data-powered insights from the Regeneron Genetics Center and pioneering genetic medicine platforms, enabling them to identify innovative targets and complementary approaches to potentially treat diseases like obesity and MASH.
LiverRight and the LiverRight Scanning Network. LiverRight is America's first virtual specialty clinic for liver disease, offering adults in all 50 states video appointments and helping GI practices and health systems triage and treat the swelling numbers of patients seeking MASLD and MASH testing. LiverRight offers same-week video visits and accepts insurance. For more information, contact LiverRight. That's liver then R-I-G-H-T as if one word, at www.liverright.com.
Tawazun Health, your partner in global liver health innovation. At Tawazun Health, we specialize in providing small or large-scale access to FibroScan examinations for liver health-focused early detection, clinical trials, independent research, and collaborative projects with clinicians and FibroScan providers, now in over 30 countries around the globe. As industry-leading experts, we design and deliver high-quality FibroScan services because we know that accurate, high-quality, reliable data drives better outcomes. To learn about Tawazun Health or our sister lifestyle app, mylife365.me, click the Tawazun Health link on the Surfing MASH homepage. In this conversation, the first part of the roundtable, we are introduced to the Dr. Stephen A. Harrison Patient Advocacy Fellowship, its leaders from the Fatty Liver Foundation, and 4 of the advocates. We learn about their histories of living with disease, the ways each of them advocates for patients, and how they see the Harrison Fellowship as being unique and valuable for them and the larger patient community.
This, I think, is a rather exceptional episode for Surfing MASH. We've not had one with so many patient advocates in such exciting roles for a while. As I mentioned in my introduction, this week we were talking about the Stephen Harrison Fellowship Program as part of our ongoing effort to remember our co-founder, Stephen, and also to salute this really fantastic program that was put together, I guess, under the auspices of Fatty Liver Foundation. So with us today, Louise is here today. Louise, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. And to see so many people across this beautiful screen, I'm excited for this one.
Actually, it's even more exciting than you know, because it used to be that we could only have 8 people on at once, and they only recently upgraded their capability to 10. And we have 9, so we've never done that before, and that is exciting. So with us, we've got 2 of the key people in founding and organizing the Harrison Fellowship. Wayne Espers from Fatty Liver Foundation, who's been with us before. Wayne, how are you today?
Hey, Roger. I'm really great. It's a real pleasure to participate in this. I appreciate you giving the foundation and the fellowship heads up. It's a good opportunity for us.
I think it's a good opportunity for all of us, for the entire community. As the community grows more global and more complex, programs like this become more important and more exciting. And then we have with Elena Samsonova, who, if it's Samsonova, please forgive me, who runs this fellowship program. Yeah. Elena, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. We've just had our team meeting, and it feels so exciting to welcome 20 fellows to actually be part of our group and to start this school year with them. That's really great.
So, Elena, since you've not been on the podcast before, one thing we do at the end of our introductions for first-timers is we ask you to tell us one thing that we wouldn't know about you. It's a little bit out of the ordinary if you didn't tell us.
I don't know if you know it. I shared with some of the fellows. I came from Russia to the United United States, and I've been working in health advocacy for a number of years, for a long time. But I come from the HIV world, and I just recently transitioned to liver health, and I'm excited about it because it's such a pressing matter in health right now, not just in the United States, but all over the world.
I guess there's a Jeff Lazarus who I could think of who started out in HIV, and then when there was some control over HIV, went to Hep C, and then when the Hep C vaccine did not stop liver disease, wound up here because I think it ultimately straightened out the other problems. This is the one that comes along. That's fantastic. Thanks. Let me ask you to do me a favor, Elena. Please introduce these 5 fellows who are on the phone with us, and then I'm going to ask each of you, as Elena introduces you, to tell us the one thing about yourself that our audience might not know if you didn't tell them.
So I'll start with our international fellows. Our cohort is truly international because we have 3 people joining the fellowship this year from Europe. 2 of them are here. First, Stephen Rodrigues from the UK.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Steve Rodrigues. I live in Preston, which is in the northwest of England in the UK. Professionally, this year I was awarded the Hidden Heroes Award from the British Liver Trust for all the volunteer work I do for them, which came as a complete surprise. So that was nice to be recognised for that. So
congratulations. And while everybody is muted, we are all applauding mutedly.
So we have Silvana Lesidrenska from Bulgaria. I'm sorry, Silvana, if I butchered your last name, please correct me. But it's exciting to see how Silvana is bringing her experience from Hep B world. I guess she'll share a little more about that.
You can never pronounce my last name correctly, so don't worry. It's too complicated. So I'm Silvana. I'm a patient with hepatitis B. I was diagnosed almost 20 years ago. When I discovered my disease, I didn't know anything about it. So with other patients, we decided 2010 to create a patient association. And since then, I'm running it. And I've been really passionate about patient rights and patient involvement in every step of the treatment, of every step of the care. Because I think medical expertise is one thing, but patient perspective and feedback and real life feedback it's really important. So for the past 15 years, I've been running the organization, doing a lot of activism, a lot of campaigns, and I'm part of Liver Patient International. At the end of the day, I'm just a patient who wants to learn more. That's it.
So next is Julie Pio from Canada.
That's right. I'm from Toronto, and something people might not know about me is that I'm a great-grandmother. Another thing is that I am a cancer survivor, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, long-standing. So I've been on different medical journeys, one of which was cancer, and I am a NASH patient.
So we have that in common, and congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a great thing to be on the other side of, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Next up is Pam Miller from Ohio, United States.
Okay, I'm Pam. Something you don't know about me. I'm actually 69 years old. I'll be 70 in April, and everybody says you look like you're in your 50s, and I still work full time, and I am a MASH patient, and I was discovered 24 years ago when I was excitingly going in for a gastric bypass surgery and thought I was going to be skinny when I came out, and they cut me open and said it was the worst liver they ever saw, and they did a biopsy, closed me up, aborted the surgery, and I've had to lose what weight I have lost on my own. When I went in for surgery, it was almost 300 pounds. So,
but you look fantastic, and you certainly don't look anywhere like 300 pounds now.
And the trouble is keeping it off. That's the hard part.
The famous comedian Jackie Gleason, Pam, once said that he was the best weight loser in history. He lost the same 50 pounds 20 times.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been in stage 4 ever since the beginning, and even though I lost all the weight, it is still stage 4.
Last but not least, Melanie Smith from Kansas, United States.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am excited to be one of the fellows. Something you may not know about me is I am a soon-to-be grandma myself in February. I'm very excited about that. And I am a stage 4 MASH cirrhosis since the beginning when I got diagnosed at 36 years of age. age. I'm 52 now. So that's almost, 16 years. I live with hepatic encephalopathy as well and found my life in advocacy. And so I'm very thankful to the Fatty Liver Foundation for this lovely opportunity.
Yes. Wayne, you folks have done fantastic things. I don't need to say that now. I say that all the time. Okay, so thanks, everybody. With that, let's do groundbreakers. Then I'm going to ask each of you just one good thing that's happened in your life in the past week, personal or professional. Brave one, go first.
Oh, I'll go first. I really have a great thing to say. Most of you know I was a cirrhosis patient, but you may not know that I also am a multiple myeloma patient. And, almost 2 weeks ago, I had my 2-year bone marrow biopsy, and my cancer is undetectable. So I am a successful cancer patient so far, as well as being a successful liver patient.
Congratulations.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, Wayne. I'm guessing no one's going to top that, but somebody should go next.
Well, I'll go next, only because it's so bizarre in the context that you and I were both on holiday when they made all of the announcements about semaglutide and FDA and non-invasive technologies. But I ended up in Las Vegas on stage with David Copperfield doing an illusion and being chatted up by a 1-foot blue alien. So, and I had not been drinking anything. So I'm going left field on that. And then I went to Alaska. So I've done a couple of states in the last couple of months and Canada. So it's the only thing that's bizarre enough after such great news from Wayne, because I remember him coming on the podcast during that period. So it's such great news.
Thanks, Louise. And then Steve, you had your hand up, so why don't you go next?
Yeah, hi, thank you. So on Friday, I got a call from the British Liver Trust, and 20 minutes later, I was on the national radio station, Radio 5 Live. The singer Lulu had been on the BBC breakfast programme on Friday morning talking about how she hid away her alcoholism for many years, and she's been sober now for 13 years. And the BBC contacted the British Liver Trust to see if they have a patient that would speak. It was a clinical advisor, and they rang me and asked me if I would talk about my own journey through alcoholism and where I am now. And I was also able to speak about that, obviously very openly and honestly, and talk a little about my journey with hepatic encephalopathy as well. So that was something that came right out of the blue. Got a call, I think it was about 9:15, something like that, and 15 minutes later, there I am on Radio 5, and I think it went down really well. It's always nice that you are asked to do these things, and it never phases me to talk about it. And I think it was important that I was able to speak about that very openly and honestly, because she talked about hiding it away, which is what I did. Nobody knew. The only person that knew, and I talked about this, was my neighbour across the corridor. And I was able to talk a little about hepatic encephalopathy. And one good thing, he never interrupted me at all. He let me speak without interrupting me, which was so he didn't stop any. My story never changes, obviously, but it was really good to be able to say as much as I wanted within that time frame. So I just hope that, it did somebody good that was listening to sort of say, you could have hope. Have hope. And I just explained that I wanted to use my experience for good, which I think is what I'm obviously doing now. So, yeah, that was a wonderful occasion, obviously, for me and my family as well. It's nice for them to listen to things like that. They know what I'm doing. So
that's very exciting. Okay, who would like to go next?
I'll jump in. I think exciting for me, when I began my journey, I was at 280 pounds. And this week, I have lost the 105th pound. So I am down 105 pounds. And for me, I am very excited.
Okay, who would like to go next?
It's not in the past week, but a few weeks ago, I was able to travel across Canada to Vancouver Island and spend 2 weeks just discovering part of my country that I'd never been to. And it was a fabulous vacation, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. I was out every day hiking and just really restored my soul to be out in nature.
Fantastic. Who's left? Pam, go ahead.
Okay, the exciting news when I received the text on Saturday from Elena saying, can you do the podcast? And that was exciting for me just to 3 months ago, OSU, which is my research hospital that I've been working with, called me and said, do you want to be on CBS News, our local station? So this reminded me of that because it was all last minute as well. And so I did the CBS segment, which CBS picked up across the states. And then CNN called me and I did CNN. And I just want to thank Wayne for starting this all up, because this is how I got my start, was on his blog, answering so many questions, because I've been with him for like 5 years, I think, maybe 6. I had no one telling me anything before that time. And so all this stuff helping others is always exciting to me. I got my flight stuff for the convention. I'm going to Magical in a couple of weeks. And to me, it's just the more I can learn about myself and what I'm living with, the more exciting it is to help others.
This is Silvana and I guess Elena, and then I'll go and we'll kick conversation off.
Mine is something really small, but I just got home with a taxi, and it was amazing because the driver was playing some rock music and I was enjoying it. At the end, he played the music very hard and we were jumping in the car and we were, laughing and singing. And it was just so beautiful thing, to be open and spontaneous with somebody you don't know, because in the past few years I've been dealing with a lot of diseases in my life. It's not just the hepatitis B, I have other issues, and in the past 2 years I felt that I'm really starting to close myself and being introvert and really depressed. And this ride with this taxi driver just reminded me that sometimes something really small make your day very, very happy and very beautiful. Just to be, just to be crazy like that without any reason.
So, Silvana, that's fantastic. And because this is audio, not video, listeners can't see how many people are smiling widely as you tell that story. That's just great. Elena?
Yeah, so last week we got to meet our 20 fellows during the onboarding session. So that was really an emotional and exciting milestone for the program. And for me personally, because I've just joined Fatty Liver Foundation in April, and the program was still a concept. And then we started working on it 24 hours a day and just developing the whole timeline and, small details about the program. And last week, we finally got to see all 20 people together, not in one room yet, but on Zoom. It was still already visible how the group dynamic is emerging, how they all interact. Everybody was smiling, just as you said, it warmed our heart to see all these people joining together to make an impact and just bring the change to how things are.
I'll go back a week or two before that. I was fortunate enough to be at Paris Match this year and to meet Steve and to meet Una Keitley, who's another one of the fellows who's not on the call today, and to be impressed by the power of their commitment and all the commitment behind this program. I believe this will go exactly as far as the patient advocates carry it to disease. I think things are headed in a better direction in terms of how we conceptualize. Louise and I can think back 5 years ago when people said that they were paying attention to somebody other than doctors, and that meant we might be able to get Louise into the room if somebody asked. And that actually happened at one major meeting. And now it's 5 years later, and to look at you folks and to think about the patient tracks at EASL and ASLD and the increasing role that patients are taking, advocates are taking in shaping how everybody thinks about liver disease is just an amazing thing. And watching some of the interaction at Paris was fantastic for me. I'm sorry I couldn't see you guys last week, but that's my happy news for the week. Now, let's talk about the fellowship. And Wayne, I think that many good things start with you. I'm guessing this one somehow did also. So can you narrate to us tell us a little bit about where the idea came from and how you developed it, and take us up to the point where Elena comes and joins you?
Sure. You wouldn't know, I suppose, but Stephen was the second hepatologist I met in my life. And this was shortly after I was diagnosed. Mike Charlton was my physician, and, he invited me to the first NASH tag. And I met Stephen there, and I was so fortunate to become acquainted with somebody like him. I mean, Stephen was an inspiration to me, because in that very first meeting, he actually sat with me for 45 minutes probably, and we talked about the issues of patient engagement and how the doctor-patient relationship worked, and his thoughts about how things should evolve. And I have to say that many of the concepts that I have worked on over the years had a germ of creation in that engagement with Stephen. And he and I have had contacts over the years, and I considered him a friend and somebody I could reach out to, which I did And his passing was so shocking. I mean, it was such a loss to the community. You could hardly imagine a greater loss to the patient community than Stephen Harrison passing at such a young age. I wanted very much to find some way to memorialize his contribution. You see people saying, oh, yeah, we remember Stephen, but we wanted something where his name and his legacy and the things that he believed in could be carried forward. And that was the germination of the idea, because he was so passionate about how patients could contribute and how valuable patient perspective was. And that led to a conversation with Becky Taub, who is also a tremendous advocate for the patient community and the relationship of patients and research.
For those who don't know, listeners, Becky Taub was one of the co-founders and the original chief medical officer of Madrigal Pharmaceuticals. Just to tie together, where does Becky fit into the picture? Please go ahead.
And Becky's another, one of those heroes for me in the community. So we've had these relationships over the years, and the fellowship grew out of the goal of solving a problem we have as patients, in that we all want to participate, to make a contribution, and the most critical aspect of evolving treatment is the clinical trials. And getting the patient perspective and voice into that process is very difficult, because it's so intimidating for patients to engage with some of these really very highly skilled physicians and scientists, and to feel like we as patients have the information, to have confidence as we speak to those people is so important. So the fellowship has a goal of training, providing information to people to help them be better advocates for the patient perspective and to be more capable in dealing with clinical trialists. And this is the first group of that. And Elena came to us just by sheer good luck. She's a bluebird that flew into our window, and she's just been such a joy to work with. So I'll pass that to her if it's all right with you.
Elena, go ahead. Carry the story.
Thank you, Wayne. How I joined Fatty Liver Foundation is just through my old-time colleague, Henry Chang. He is the executive director of the Fatty Liver Foundation, not today with us, but always inspiring and just a great leader. So I saw the post on LinkedIn. We're looking for somebody to help us build a program, to manage the program. And I was like, it sang to me how he described this program. A few days later, we could meet in the Bay Area and just chat about it, about the whole concept and what it can bring to the patients and to the whole liver health community. And I was so excited. I know that they had a lot of applications, but I kept my fingers crossed. It's going to be me. I just felt like it should be me because, I felt connection right away, not just because I knew Henry, but also the goal of the program was so meaningful and just made sense to me. That's how it should be for the industry, for the researchers, to not just have patients as their subjects, but to have them as peers, as the partners in what they're doing. So yeah, that's how it happened. And then a couple interviews later, I was already working on the program.
So both of you, how did you come to collect the nominees to be fellows? And what were the factors that led you to choose the 20 people that you chose, including those who are on the podcast today?
Well, we didn't necessarily choose them. They chose us. I mean, we put the word out that we were wanting to do this, and we had almost 50 people apply. And so we had a very difficult challenge of who's the first 20. I mean, that's what we had budget for. We had more interest from the community than we had space for. And we reached out into the advocacy community. It was not a decision made by the Fatty Liver Foundation. We had a panel of representatives across the patient advocate community. So it was a very broad group of people who looked at all of the applications and made their recommendations. In the end, it was a numerical choice, if you will. Out of all of those votes, we totaled up the scores, and basically these were the top 20 scores out of the 50 people that were applying. So we regretted that we couldn't accommodate everybody, but there's a lot of interest in this. These are just the cream of the first crop, but we expect to see more in the future.
Okay, and for people who listen to the podcast, 3 were folks who've appeared on this podcast multiple times. Jeff McIntyre from GLI, Mike Patel from Fatty Liver Alliance, and Jen Lee Jones from Sober Livers. I don't remember who the others were, but those are 3 folks who've been on this podcast multiple times, and listeners probably know.
I just wanted to add that speaking to the criteria, we looked for enthusiasm, interest among patient advocates. As you know, patient advocacy can come in all different shapes and colors, and there is just so much to do in this field, even narrowed down to liver health. But we were looking for the interest in patient advocates to connect upstream with researchers, with industry, and learn and build a skill set to be able to contribute meaningfully to the discussions around clinical trial design and how to make a better experience for the patients first thing, and then also improve the results for the industry in the end of the day. So everybody's interested in, should be interested in bringing patients and patient advocates into this process early on. And that's basically what we asked. Are you interested in learning more how to engage with this kind of context of liver health advocacy? And we heard our applicants that this is what they want to learn about. So we have this focus of the program.
So advocacy is a pretty wide band. Where within the various things that advocates might do does this program center? And actually, let me ask that question to one of the advocates. In your mind, as you see it, where does this program center, and how is this different from any of the other advocacy work that you've been doing up until now? Bold one, go first.
I think for me, it is the clinical trial piece. I, as an advocate, have ran support groups for patients. I have two very large support groups I run, and I've been doing that for over 12 years. But the piece that was missing was the clinical trial piece, and trying to bring those people that I love and care about to become comfortable in saying, hey, come on over here. Look at this as an option. And even myself, I had to become more bold in going out and applying for those clinical trials. And I've done that twice now in the last year. And I'm working to become more understanding about that process. And this fellowship is giving me that opportunity to become more educated and how to educate those that I'm advocating for and to help educate them.
So let me ask the rest of you, what is it that, when you heard about this opportunity, what is it that made you jump on it exactly?
I mean, I will go ahead and speak. Like I said earlier, the more that I can learn about my liver and to help the others means so much to me. I've done several clinical trials, and I'm getting ready to start another one. If I'm accepted, last week they actually had to do all the testing and stuff. It's very important to save my children's lives and my grandchildren's lives, and that's one reason why I'm doing this. I've worked with magical pharmaceuticals a lot. I am involved now with the AASLD. I'm fighting with legislators. I personally made appointments when we're in Washington, D.C. to sit down and talk with them, and I know the AASLD is doing some as well. But I really want to get into Kennedy because I just think it's really important. I'm always a person, I start at the top and work my way down on everything I do. And with the support of the Fatty Liver and the fellowship and everything, the more we can get the word out there that this is not only affecting your liver, it's affecting every part of your body, basically, because your liver has over 500 cells and it's dictating your heart and so many other things. So people need to learn, as well as the doctors. I had an incident a couple of weeks ago where my best friend went in for an MRI, and when it came out, she goes, I have fatty liver. And I said, what did the doctor say? And thank heavens it was everything that I would have told her to do, where I have seen doctors before that wasn't my own doctor and say, oh, well, everybody's got MASH. Well, no, not everybody has MASH. So even the doctors don't understand this. So this is a big fight.
Pam, do you still have that? Still have doctors saying not something you should worry about, even here in 2025?
Yeah, I went to an urgent care here a while back, and that's when he said that, everybody has it. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. But my doctor that I actually work with, and everyone that I've worked with the research at OSU, she actually was there last week, and she said, anymore, I think you know more about this than I do because I have studied so much and I've been involved with it. And that's the way we're going to help others. And so that's what I'm about.
Steve or Silvana, and I'm going to ask Louise what questions you've got for these folks right now.
I can go first. I think for me, it's really interesting to understand another chronic liver disease because I've been living with hepatitis B all my life. And because I think the perspective of the other person, how they see patients with chronic liver disease is that you have a pill or whatever and you just live your life and don't complain about it. But actually it's more beyond that. It's beyond that. It's beyond the pill. It's beyond the treatment, beyond the clinical trial. I mean, our life is so complicated by this disease and nobody knows how you feel actually. What side effects you have on your life, your personal life, your social life, your sex life if you want. How affects your habits, how affects your desire to go out and train and go to the mountains and see your friends. I mean, I think the burden sometimes is so heavy in your mind. It's not just the body, it's not just the liver, it's not just the lab test. It's just to accept that you need to live with this whole of your life. And with time, more diseases and more illnesses and more complications usually build up. So how to manage all these things? Because it's like a puzzle, one piece. It's really complicated for me. So the reason to participate in this fellowship is to understand more broadly another patients like me, because I already know so many patients for the past 15 years that are living with hepatitis B and got cured from Hep C. But, other diseases that you have to live with them and you have to deal with them every day. I just think people they have so much strength, but we don't know because we don't share. So this is why this fellowship is so important to me, because when we share, I don't feel alone. Even I don't have MASH.
Okay. Steve.
Yeah, I think for me, it's another liver disease. Most of my work has been evolved around alcohol-related liver disease, although 2 years ago, this month actually, I was embarked on a research project regarding HCC. So I didn't know anything about liver cancer 2 years ago, and that was an 18-month project, and it was something that it still was one of the greatest achievements. I ended up co-authoring a paper, working with doctors on the trials as well, trying to raise awareness. I understood more about liver cancer. So this project is increasing my learning, but also for me, it's about also bridging the gap between the patients and the professionals, and also breaking down the stigma, because I still think I know, not necessarily in the medical profession, but it's all about, for me, it's important to break down the stigma around liver disease, whatever liver disease is involved, the stigma around that, especially when most people think if you say you work in liver health, immediately they would think it's alcohol related. So this gives me an opportunity to learn new skills, but the fellowship aligns with everything I want to do and increases my work to a wider field. And for me, I think, and I said this when I finished on the dissemination speech on the liver cancer project I did, for me, it's about creating a legacy as well. For me, it's about creating a legacy that I can been involved in something that has proved successful. And I can't, obviously we've been in Paris, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, and that was an eye-opener. I learned a lot. I know I have an awful lot to learn, but the challenge is there for me, and it's one that I'm willing to take with both hands.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody, first of all, for sharing their stories and their reasons, because we have a diverse population here, and I think you said you've got 20 advocates, and they're probably met from all around the world. Are they, Elena?
So this year we're focusing, because we're just starting, we're building this program with our first cohort of fellows, and we opened the applications for US, Canada, European Union, and the UK this year. So we do have a plan to include other areas, but just we have to start somewhere and be, reasonable and realistic in what we could achieve within just a few months of the call for applications and rigorous selection process. So that's the areas we cover right now.
No, that's wonderful. And Stephen was a great advocate for the KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid. So getting that and doing that and making that work is really, really important. But I think I just wanted to talk about some of Pam's comments. We have to remember that healthcare workers are patients. I see an awful lot of healthcare workers with MASH and measles. 49% of healthcare workers in the United Kingdom actually are overweight, have issues, and having been a nurse for a very long time, in healthcare, we have bad diets. Everybody feeds us chocolate, sweets, crisps. We run around all day. We might take a 5 or 10 minute break and you do the wrong dietary. You do the craving, you do the stuff. So I think we do have to remember that healthcare workers are patients, but we can advocate better. Just because the medications are now available, advocates, like the ones that are around this table now, are absolutely vital. Every time they interact with a doctor, they will teach, or a healthcare worker, they will teach that person something new. I have done tens of thousands of fibre scans. I've seen tens of thousands of patients in my career, and I learn something new every single time. And my one suggestion to people listening to this podcast is go back and listen again to what these advocates are telling you, because you will learn different things at different times of listening to them. I still see people who have fibre scans where the only focus is fibrosis. A fibre scan talks about steatosis and fibrosis. We have EASL and ARSL guidelines that tell us that steatotic liver starts at a fibre scan of over 248. If that you are having a fibre scan and it is not discussed about your steatosis level, and I had somebody last week came in, I was told I had a bit of fat. No, she's got steatosis grade 3. And what can we do about it? We have to be talking properly about MASH and measles and steatotic liver. But if you're only talking about kilopascals, then it's wrong. We do need to now be talking, giving the information, teaching people and helping them advocate, because it is such a great power. We've gone from patients not being part of the table to patients now driving what drugs are going to be investigated because of the advocacy. And advocacy is a two-way street. And I would love to hear each of the advocates tell us what they get out of being an advocate, because it's not just one way. And we've heard some personal stories. We want to help the next generation. But being brave helps other people step forward. And I think the power of what they're telling, and I think Wayne, Elena, and Stephen's legacy couldn't be any better.
Well, thank you, Louise. Something else that's really important is that we have historically focused on fatty liver and steatosis, steatotic or NASH. But one of the really important things that's happened in the last couple of years was the change in nomenclature, where the definition of how you describe these liver diseases was updated, and we brought alcohol under the umbrella because our societies are awash in alcohol. But, before that, we only really talked about food, if you will. And one of the really important changes has been that we're now recognizing the alcohol component of this disease process. And so many of us have been affected by that. And so the MET ALD and that definition, I think, has been a really important evolution that we're adopting that under the Fatty Liver Foundation with our Sober Livers program. So I just wanted to stick that in because we have always talked about MASH as the big deal, but it's the combination of all those processes.
Just a quick comment that the selection process for the program also reflected that. So we did not restrict the applicants to be just pursuing the MASH field. So we opened up to different phenotypes of SLD, including alcohol-related.
On behalf of the surfers, our guests and our sponsors, Novo Nordisk, Regeneron, Liver Right, and Tawazoon Health, thanks for joining us this week.
Please join us again next week for a series of roundtables and interviews covering major recent issues in the world of steatotic liver disease.
And until next week, stay safe, surf on, and we'll see you again on Surfing Mash Tsunami Podcast. Bye-bye now.